You're listening to Drinks and a Movie with your host, Rudy. Spoiler alert.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Drinks and a Movie podcast. It is the day after Christmas. Carissa's co-hosting with me once again. Holiday horror. We're talking Robert Eggers' 2024 film, Nosferatu. And for this, I'm going to be drinking Old Grandad, 16-year-old, coming in at 100 proof, high rye mash bill out of Jim Beam. I think you've got some wine. You're just chugging on some wine tonight.
Just drinking, that's what I got in my fridge.
So I'll be quick with this. If you know anything about bourbon, you should be familiar with Old Grandad. This is a limited release that came out, I think, just a couple months ago. Old Grandad, 16-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Once again, high rye mash bill. If you listen to the show, you know I'm a gigantic fan of Old Grandad 114. I also like Old Grandad Bonded as like a well kind of cocktail, old fashioned bourbon. I did open this one before the new 16-year-old, but this will be my second going at it. So let's just go in. There's been some not so positive reviews on this for the most part.
Really?
Yeah, especially considering the retail, I think, was like $180. So you're looking at like a $200 bottle. Which is pretty wild because it's more expensive than Knob Creek 18 and even a little more expensive than Hardin's Creek, which is, I think, the best juice that Jim Beam puts out. So on the nose, it smells just like Old Grandad 114 and Bonded, same kind of vibe, a little bit of citrus, a little bit of that peanut. You know, you definitely get the kind of spicy quality, but that sweet oak aroma comes through too. So you can sense the age, right? Being 16 years old. So yeah, I'm going to speed through this. So let me do this real quick. Yeah. So this is consistent with the first time I tried it. I think it's not a bad whiskey by any means, but I do agree with what a lot of other people are saying is that for a 16-year-old bourbon, it's a little underwhelming. It's not very viscous and oily. It comes across kind of thin, and I just drank like Old Grandad Bonded, the 4-year-old one. Like that's what I was chugging before I drank this one. And it's not like, you do taste the age and the oak, but it's not like wildly different. It's not $200 more different.
I was going to say, what's the price? Yeah.
Yeah. Where the other one is like $20 and this one is around 200. That's a big jump for something that's not, again, it's not super different. I mean, it's definitely there. Like you taste the oak, the age, it's got a little more flavor, but not to warrant that, which is a real bummer. The label is fucking badass though. They went with this like old school kind of look, you know. And it's strange to me in a world where Knob Creek exists and is quite a bit better than this, or even Hardin's Creek, like everything they've put out that's been like 15, 16, 17 years old, are like incredible bourbons. So I've really had high hopes for this, and it's just kind of sad that, yeah, it doesn't really hit like the others. It is good, and if you've got to like collect it and you just got to try for yourself, you know, then go for it if you've got the money to spare. It's just a little pricey for what it is. Again, not bad juice. Like I do like it. I have no regrets. It's just a shame that it's so pricey. That's the only bummer. It's like, it's not like $200 juice, you know.
Yeah, that is pricey. That's pricey, yeah, dude.
Yeah, and I think I wish they would have kept it at like 114 proof, because that probably would have like made it worthwhile and took it over the edge. But I assume they tried it at different proofs and determined that 100 was the better way to go. So, you know, whatever. But that's that. Old Grandad 16. Anyway, Nosferatu, right? The what is it? The fourth film, I believe, by Robert Eggers, I want to say. We saw this Christmas Eve, the two of us, right?
Yeah.
And I guess to just give the quick synopsis here, let me just read what IMDb has to say. Okay. A gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. All right. So we don't have to go. Yeah, I don't think we got to go like beat for beat through any of this. I know for me, I like the movie for the most part. I think Robert Eggers is like a modern master of creating atmosphere and just vibe and a kind of sense of dread. And I think that stays consistent here. yet somehow not to the extent of his previous films. And I was thinking, well, I'll get back to that in a second. I think the acting is on point, right? Lily Rose
Mhm.
Depp just like
Amazing.
goes for it. Yeah, great performance. I'm really it makes me curious and excited to see like where her career goes. Nicholas Hoult, good, of course. Willem Dafoe, can't go wrong with him. Cinematography, really great. It's very stylish, right? We were talking about that, super stylized,
Yeah.
very stylish. And Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, which I didn't realize until the credits, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That was very, very, very surprising to me because I was like, oh, it's the young one. It's the it guy. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
Pennywise. That's so
Pennywise.
wild.
Yeah.
I love it. Is he gonna be like our new main guy in like all these horror movies? Like, what
Right.
is it? But
Yeah.
he was great.
Yeah, and all of that being said, and for the most part, I think I liked it, or I did like it, but I didn't love it. I don't think it's any kind of horror masterpiece, or anything like that. I don't think it's his best film, and yeah, I kind of ultimately just kind of feel like it was all right, you know.
No, I get that 100%.
Yeah, so let's hear your take on it.
So I liked it as like a gothic, love, like a very sad love story, but it wasn't scary to me at all. I didn't think there was, like we spoke about, the few jump scares, and the atmosphere is great, but it wasn't scary to me. I wanted it to be a little bit more horrifying because even like the bloody parts, it didn't feel scary to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know how he would have done it though for it to be more like terrifying. Maybe it was just like the story. Maybe it's something about, kind of knowing what's going to happen because we kind of all know the story of Dracula
Hmm.
at the end of the day, right? And it's kind of, all based around the same thing. So maybe that would be the reason. Like there's no suspense for me. Like when we went and saw The Witch, his other movie. Wait, we didn't see that together. But when you watched The Witch, that movie scared me.
Yeah.
That movie was like really unsettling and something about
Yeah.
it. And I think it was almost maybe just not knowing what's going to happen was scarier for me. And then maybe knowing like kind of the tale that was going to be told. But yeah, I thought it was great. It just, yeah, everybody was raving about how this was going to be. This is, yeah, the cinematic masterpiece. This was going to be the movie of the year. You're going to be
Hmm.
the craziest, the scariest, most terrifying horror movie that you've seen. And I was like, I don't know about all that. It
Yeah.
was beautiful, but it wasn't scary.
Yeah.
It was creepy. It wasn't scary.
Yeah. Like it has that atmosphere. It has the creep factor. And there were some shots in there and some moments where I was a little scared, like it was going that way, but it didn't I wasn't super scared, and also
Yeah.
whatever that might mean. And yeah, we talked about afterwards how I felt that he leaned a lot into the jump scares in this one. And usually I'm really sensitive to that. And it kind of pisses me off because I'm like, God damn it, jump scare. But none of them made me jump. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Somehow they just kind of, I'm like, okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. There's another one.
Because
And
it was very formulaic, I think,
yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, to me, he's put them in surprising moments. Like there's a couple times where it happens and I wouldn't have even thought like, oh, here comes a jump scare moment. But yeah, somehow it didn't quite land for me. Regardless, which is interesting. Um,
Yeah, it didn't
yeah.
land for me either. So it's kind of like, oh, like I don't know what I was expecting, but I really wanted him to dive deeper into maybe like the terror of it all and not so much the atmosphere of it all. I don't know. Because I do keep like, going back to The Witch and I'm just like that movie like was scary. Like they had scary parts, but that movie like had a lot of scary parts that that I thought were kind of terrifying. And I wanted that and I thought we were going to get that like tenfold,
Yeah, I think I wonder if that's part of what did it a disservice was even though it's not like anyone hyped it up to me, but you see, oh, Robert Eggers is doing Nosferatu next, and you see in the first trailer, and I think because of movies like the Witch and the Lighthouse,
Mhm.
and what he's done
Yes.
before that, it ought at least for me, it automatically put me in a zone of like, yeah, this is gonna be like next level. Like, and now he's got a bigger budget, it's a little more mainstream. I wonder if that kind of hurts it. I was thinking about what you were saying about like how it's cinematic. And when we were having that conversation, I was feeling like we were talking about some of the same things, but
Yeah.
just the verbiage was different. Like
Hmm.
the words we were using didn't line up.
Yeah.
But
Maybe like
I think
yeah.
I think really what it comes down to is like more mainstream. That's what I come down.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah,
So when I was
a little
saying that, I
more
meant like more,
Hollywood. You know?
there we go. That's what I
Yeah,
was saying is like
yeah,
when I was like, it's so like pretty and cinematic. Like I meant like more mainstream. This was like kind of created for,
yeah.
you
Like
know,
it's
for
still
everybody. For it's the Nosferatu for everybody, even though it's creepy, but it's still kind of,
yeah,
it wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be or thought
yeah.
it would.
I mean, and I felt it still maintained his quality and his specific vision. Like, I still don't know that anyone else would do it anything like what he did. Um, but yeah, somehow it just didn't resonate in the same way, like you said, The Witch. I think that's a perfect example. And I feel like that and The Lighthouse are almost like the movies that he's gonna forever have to live up to.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's it.
Yeah.
That's tall order.
Yeah. I mean, the Northman was really good too. I mean, I really enjoyed the Northman. I only saw it the one time, but that felt like it was on the way to like, all right, that mainstream kind of, you have more money and more of this, you know, but again, still it exists in a weird zone where I feel like it is still very clearly his vision. So I couldn't even quantify where that line is on mainstream versus Robert Eggers'
Yeah.
vision himself. But, and again, it's all just opinion, but
That's what makes it
yeah,
hard though, is because I'm like, it's great, but like something about it feels cookie cutter, even though it's not cookie cutter. So what is it? You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's
yeah,
what I'm trying to put my finger on. And I think that's, going to be what a lot of people say about this movie. And I think that because I was like looking up, I was like, oh my God, I was like, I wonder if everybody like feels kind of how I do, or maybe I'm just being crazy, or like maybe I'm a hater and I don't even know it. But I was looking at reviews and everybody's like, yeah, it's it's kind of dull. It's very aesthetically pleasing, but it's not like it doesn't have that wow factor I think we were all expecting, even though it did give you a little bit of a wow factor, just not, I think, what all of us horror fans were hoping for.
yeah. It is definitely next level to its predecessors, right? So I watched for the first time earlier today. I just finished it. The 1979 remake
Oh,
of it. So Werner Herzog did it with Klaus Kinski playing Count Orlok. Or well, in that one they used the name. So he's not even Orlok in that one. He's Dracula. In the other Doctor, like the Willem Dafoe character, you know,
yeah.
obviously that's Van Helsing, but they
Yeah.
changed the name. And I had to read about it because you know we were even talking about that too. Like, where do the stories differ? And you know, watching them, and I even today I also watched the silent version. I had seen it maybe 14 years ago, 13 years ago. Didn't remember it. I remember like the key iconic shots and moments. Um, but obviously it had been a long time since I'd seen it. So I was watching that today as well. So I've got all three of them in my bank right now. And this one is definitely, oh, sorry. What I was going to say was when they did the original one, it's because it was an unauthorized adaptation of Dracula. So that's why they just changed the names and the aesthetic and like certain elements.
Hmm.
Cause just, you know, not having the rights and whatever bullshit.
Yeah.
But I will say this one, and maybe we can feel like, of course, it's 2024. It should look the best, but by far, this is the best one and the
Yeah.
scariest one and the most atmosphere in this and that. I feel like even the original silent film, like it has its moments, and obviously it's a silent film, right? You got to look at it through that lens. But if I compare it to something like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I think that has a little more creepiness and a little more vibe to it than what F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu had. And Werner Herzog, that film, I was a little sorry. Now I'm just reviewing all three of them. I was a
Yeah,
little
no, go.
disappointed in its aesthetic because I'm like, all right, this is the 70s, like the 70s.
Bro, like,
I'm not a
yeah.
big like I've honestly have only seen maybe one or two other Herzog films, so I can't speak to him as a director. But I'm like, all right, Klaus Kinski. It's even got as the oh, I don't even remember her name, but the character that Lily Rose Depp plays. In the Herzog one, it's Isabel Johnny. So the
Yeah.
chick from Possession. So
Yeah.
it's her in that role. Yeah. But she doesn't. I'm like, I think because I saw the Eggers one first, I'm hoping to see her go, hey, and we've seen her in Possession, and she
Like, we know what
put
she
a
can do.
crazy performance on that one, being all like when she's like slamming the bags and the milk on the wall or whatever,
I love it.
and her mouth's all bloody. But we don't even get that. It's like such a minimal part. And all three movies are pretty, because you had asked too, you're like, are they pretty much the same and all that? And I can confirm that, yeah, they just happen a lot faster, but it's all essentially the same, the same beats.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's the same beats, the same everything. This one, Robert Eggers leans in the certain aspects of it more in a way that I think does improve upon it. And he does create the best atmosphere and the best kind of sense of dread more so than either of the other two. Yeah, I was hoping the 70s one would be like, because 70s was like an era, there's a lot of grit in those movies, but that one was maybe a little too nice looking.
Was it?
Yeah.
I just have to have that like 70s like craziness in there, where you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah. I was hoping for a little bit of that, but nah. But yeah, I mean, so for me, having watched all three, I'd say Eggers has the best version. Obviously, yeah, the silent film is iconic, but I mean, come on.
Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts on it you want to share?
I thought it was a great movie. I liked how, he brought the plague. I liked all the storylines because they do like, a few like little different storylines throughout. I liked how they show, this more like sad, terrifying parts of like the children, but they don't really, you know what I mean? I was like, okay,
cool, just enough.
Cool. Just enough, just not too much. I think that when they threw in the storyline, like the sexual assault weird storyline, when she was like, I was just a child, when she was like a little girl, I was like, okay. And then she's talking about being shamed and like how shameful she is that she did that when she was a kid because she was looking for somebody. I was like, okay. I was like, where are we going with this now? Like, are they trying, you know what I mean? I was like, and then they kind of turned it into like, okay, well, then you don't have to be ashamed anymore. You will save us all, blah, 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 blah. I didn't think any of that stuff. I didn't think adding that level was necessary, per se, because it's still a vampire coming to visit you. Like, that's still terrifying on its own. I don't think it had to be.
Yeah,
that had to be thrown in.
I think I'll rebuttal that a little bit. And well, one thing I was interested in with the other ones, is that's not really like a factor in it. That because I was curious. I was like, I wonder if this whole thing supposed to be a metaphor for that or a parable?
Yeah,
for that?
That's what I was wondering.
So,
I was like,
yeah. So watching the old ones, I'm like, okay, is that going to be like the big kind of key, the undertone? And I didn't get that sense at all. As a matter of fact, that character feels a lot more minimal, even though she it's the same thing where she's got to sacrifice herself so that he can die and all that, and they can't really stop him. It's up to her, but yeah, that's not really a factor. And for me, normally I would also be pretty bothered by that, but I didn't feel that it was beating us over the head with an agenda or trying to like get a message out. I feel more like it's just being authentic to the time and what the culture was back then, because if there's anything we know, it's like he really strives for authenticity in like the language, the way people speak, what they do. And even when the doctor is talking about like, yeah, if she's having hysteria, just tie her to the bed.
Like put on her corset.
The corset, make it nice and tight so the blood circulates. So I think it was just a little more of that. That's the way they talked in the time, and that was the culture more so than, hey, we're gonna put in this message for modern audiences or whatever. That's at least how it felt to me. It didn't feel heavy-handed.
Okay, I just don't know. Like, I just couldn't understand why that would be needed. But I guess I understand where you're coming from too. Question though. So in the other original ones, was there any talk of like possession, like demonic possession? Was that all new for this one?
No, that not really. Like there's still the aspect where she's having the dreams and she'll
Yeah.
like wake up and be like, oh shit. And she's like, Thomas, don't go. It's not going to be safe. But it's not like possession shit like this one
Like this
has.
one?
Yeah,
Okay.
this
I
one
wasn't
goes a
sure. I
lot.
was like,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot deeper into it. And it is all ultimately based off Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I've never read it, nor have I seen the Coppola movie. So maybe that aspect still is in the literature. Maybe it is what it's all about. I wouldn't know. And maybe the other movies just didn't, partake in that, or it just didn't come across to me. I don't know. So it still might be a big factor. I don't know, but yeah, not much about the possession. I feel like the Van Helsing character is pretty underutilized too. But I like
You know,
my Van Helsing
I
like
didn't
Peter
realize
Cushing.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it to you, like when he comes out, they're like, oh, he's like a doctor,
The
but he got
demonologist,
kicked out, and it's because he's into the occult. Like it's all and when he's doing the research, like I was about to lean over and tell you that. I'm like, I feel like
You
he's
should
just Van
have. You should
Helsing.
have, because
Yeah.
I would have looked at it. So I would have been like, oh snap, they're setting up our world, baby. I
Yeah.
wonder
And
if they're going to give him his own movie.
yeah, and he definitely is, but yeah, I like my Peter Cushing, stake through the heart, ripping the curtains down, like fighting Christopher Lee hand to hand type shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh man, I feel like there was something else I was going to say about that. Yeah, I mean, all that to say, I didn't feel that aspect of it was heavy handed. They didn't really emphasize any of the possession stuff.
Yeah, the possession stuff was only when she was like in bed flailing around. And let me tell you something, Lily Rose Depp, oh my gosh, the body acting in this, that's intense. I was thinking about it because, I used to want to act. I'm like, I couldn't imagine, like, wow, like to be in a room. How many people do you think were on that set?
Yeah.
And just to be like flailing around like she does, like, wow.
Yeah, that part.
Wild.
So I will say this whiskey is getting better and better as I sip it, everybody.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
Is it, Rudy?
It's like really hitting the spot right now. But yeah, that moment when they're like all in there and she suddenly does that big back bend.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think that was all her. I feel like there must have been a harness that pulled her up.
There has to have been, but like
it's still gnarly, and it looked like that was her. It doesn't seem like they swapped her out for a stunt person or anything. But yeah, she is really good in this. And I was gonna say, when again with you talking about the shame and the assault aspect of it is well, I guess I forgot what I was gonna say about it, but ultimately it does come down to kind of their love story and how because of that puts them kind of at a weird place, and I don't know. And then Count Orlok wants to be in love with her, but she loves her husband and he's trying to like, do real estate to buy them a house. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but
that whiskey is hitting good, huh?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But like I okay, and another question, because I didn't see the other first two. Does the bubonic plague come into play in the other ones as well? The Black Death? Okay. So
yeah,
that was like
it's the same thing where he gets on the
Same
boat and there's all the rats and the whole crew dies and the boat lands and they're like, well, shit, I guess we're all gonna die. Yeah, all that shit is the same. It is, yeah, watching them both. It is, because I was curious how far off the mark it was gonna be. And they're all three of them were pretty consistent. I felt immediately when I was watching the Herzog one, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching the same movie, just with a different lens,
Really?
And everything just happens a little faster. But I don't know, man. Yeah, like I said before, I think Eggers does really take it to another level. Like, I love the first scenes with Orlok and Thomas, and when they're talking and the voice and how he's always like, Count Orlok is always out of focus. They barely show him in the first kind of close-ups is like his eyes when he's looking at the lockup of his wife and all that stuff. And to the point where I kind of got surprised that they did start showing him in focus, where I was like, oh man, I kind of wish you just kept him hidden and kept him in the dark.
like, because it's always scary that way.
Yeah.
Not the unknown.
Yeah, but it was, I think it was handled really well, and I think the design was great. I think it was a good update The mustache was a little weird, I think, but I think it was a good update to the look and the character. And yeah, really good transitions in this movie too. Like I don't remember them exactly. There's a few though where I remember there's one where it's like Nicholas Hoult. I think it's when he's trying to escape the castle and he like goes into the camera so the frame goes black for a second. And as he passes through, it's actually like in the house with Lily Rose Depp, and then I think she moves in front of the camera and then it like transitions back to the castle. There was some moment like that I thought was really brilliant. Like it was
Yeah.
super well done. And all the shadow work and those effects were incredible with like the curtain. I was talking
Oh
about
yeah.
when we were walking out of the theater, that moment of,
The
I'm
hand.
sitting there thinking like, yeah, when are we going to get that iconic shot? And everyone's seen this, even if you've never seen the movie. Like if you go to rent the movie, that's like the image is like the shadow on the wall, like coming down the stairs with like his hands up like this or whatever, and the nose and the kind of bald head. I'm like, when are we gonna get this? And we do get it like in the end of that final scene, but passing through the different shadows from the different windows in the room.
Yeah.
Again, just a really cool way to update it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, they did a great job with that. And yeah, it was really visually like beautiful. This was a really gorgeous movie. Like it was never boring to watch, There was
Yeah.
never a point where I'm like, okay, like everything, just like even the horse and the carriage pull up when the wolves are chasing the carriage, like everything. I was just
Yeah.
like, wow,
Yeah.
this is like, ah,
Yeah, it is cool to see a 2024 movie. Like what does one of these older gothic like universal type films or like German expressionist type films, like what does that look like when done in 2024? And I think this is the example of that. Like what
mm-hmm.
is it at its best in our current time frame? And yeah, I think this nailed it.
Yeah, no,
Um
he really did. He did a great job with it. It was exactly, but that's the thing. I'm like, it's exactly what I thought it would be for like something he's doing. But it just didn't hit that.
yeah.
Like, oh, but I just can't put my finger on what more I wanted. Cause it's like that whole thing, like, well, then what do you want? Like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know what I want. I
Yeah,
just,
I couldn't tell you. And I kind of think that maybe it's just inherent in the story. Like it's just ultimately the story and the core. Like maybe what he did and those elements he added with leaning more into the man, I feel bad that I forgot I don't remember her name, but the Lily Rose Depp character and what she's going through and all that, and just the fear of the other people and the kind of you get Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's really great, is
Ellen
the
Hunter,
skeptic. Ellen, okay,
Ellen.
who's really great is the skeptic, right? It's like you have the doctor,
Yeah.
you have the Van Helsing character who has a different name, Willem Dafoe, and then you have Aaron Taylor Johnson is like kind of the skeptic of the group,
Hmm.
kind of trying to navigate all this. Yeah, all that to say, I feel like, yeah, maybe this is the ultimately like the scariest version we would be able to get just by the fact of what the story is. Yeah, I don't know that I have too much more to add to it right now. Any final thoughts from you?
No, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's not scary, but it is a beautiful gothic horror
Yeah.
movie, a gothic romance, if
Hmm.
you will. And that last shot, man, that last shot was like so beautiful, so creepy. I have a question for you. Did you feel like Lily Rose Depp had dead eyes throughout this movie?
Dead eyes,
Dead eyes, and they're just
kind of wandering.
like characters in Tim Burton's movies, where their eyes just kind of like just look far away. Because when I was going through reviews and stuff, everybody was just like, "What's up with the dead eyes? What's up with the dead eyes?" I'm like,
I do,
"She's
I
dead
do,
inside, guys. I don't know what to tell you."
I do know what you mean. She certainly has a look with her. I think I know exactly what you're referring to, and I'll say yes. I did mention when we were leaving the theater, and you said this too, that it's amazing. And of course, she happens to be Johnny Depp's son, is
Daughter.
daughter, Johnny Depp's daughter. But she
Bro,
looks
she looks
like
like
a
a Tim
real
Burton.
life Tim Burton character,
Yeah.
and not like a live action character, but literally like a corpse's bride. What's the dog Frankenweenie, like
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas, like a character in that world that was and you like imagine them as a
Fuck that.
real life human being, that's what she looks like. And I
Yeah.
don't know, did they try to make her look that way? Like her eyes always look kind of dark and maybe
Yeah.
shady, I don't know, but just something, yeah, her look, man. And just the
Just like
shape
the
of her
four,
face, the shape of
yeah.
her
But
face. She
then
has like
she
a
also,
upside triangle face, upside
she
down
doesn't have
triangle.
like she has like that forlorn, like,
Yeah,
look,
right,
which I
right.
think is what it is.
Yeah.
But she's
Yeah.
perfect in this. Oh,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think everyone, like not a single cast member is wasted or not on, but even the dude who plays the like the crazy servant character, like the Renfield character, that dude was a lunatic.
oh my
You
gosh,
know, we
yeah.
get the doctor is played by the father from The Witch, which was cool. He's got that really
Yeah.
amazing voice. Last seen in the First Omen, as far as that's the last movie I've seen him in. He was in First Omen. Um, yeah, dang. Well, that's
But
all I
yeah,
got for this one.
me too. Thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. Holiday horror. Go give it a watch. See what you think. Leave a comment too if you see it. Share your thoughts. I'd be curious to hear what other folks got to say about this movie.
I know, because this isn't like a Terrifier movie where it's very like, ugh. This one I do feel like is a universally, palatable movie, easy to
Yeah.
watch for everybody. So,
Mhm.
but I'm just wondering if everybody kind of catches the same things that we do, or if we're
Yeah.
just being hypercritical, because sometimes I feel like I am.
Yeah. I think we're being just critical enough.
Just
But
enough.
yeah. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one, everybody. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks and a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksandamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.